Right, so I did the boots. I'm pretty sure I did the shield when it was first revealed, so screw waiting, right? When a card like this drops, we should probably get right into it. So, Ley Line of the Old Ones. It is the final legendary of Mastery Pack Guardian, going along with the shield and the boots, right? So, we'll wait till the full Majestic list is out, and then we'll do them. But yeah, this is one nutty card. So, it is a legendary, right? Both in rarity and keywords, you can only have one in your deck. But when this enters the arena, and whenever you deal damage, create a Seismic Surge token. At the beginning of your end phase, if you control no Seismic Surge tokens, destroy this. Now, I'd also notice it is a Marvel, right? So we'll start there before we get into the nuts and bolts of the card. But for the Marvels of Mastery Pack Guardian, there are 12 in total. So this was my initial thinking, right? We have the 3 Seismic Surge tokens for each different region. We have the 3 Old One cards. Then we have our shield. Maybe Base of the Mountain comes in a Marvel. And then probably Velda Young, Velda Old, and Bravo himself. So now, since we have the 3rd Legendary as a Marvel, it looks like this, right? So more rationale for Base of the Mountain to come as a Marvel. I don't know if they can squeeze all the text in, right? So Blade Break loses all its explanation text. I think it could be squeezed down and fit, right? A Marvel. Otherwise, I just don't know what the Marvel could be, unless they do an old Bravo Flattering Showman, right? Which I don't think they will. Maybe not, at least until Showstopper's gone. But yeah, there we go, right? So 12 Marvels, beautiful ley line. I mean, I wish the old ones weren't, Guardian specific. They could have been really good Majestics, I think, right, if they weren't Guardian specific. But they're still really nice piece of artwork. So there we go. They're the 12 Marvels, hopefully, for Mastery Pack Guardian. Give or take Base of the Mountain and Bravo, the Flattering Showman. But on to the actual card. So again, it is a legendary. This is what it looks like in stock standard. It does make me a little bit curious how they're actually going to come, right? So I would assume for the shield, we have it in normal, cold foil, and Marvel. Although, again, that 3 sets of rarity, I don't know if it bodes too well, right? We had similarly in Dust Till Dawn Outsiders, right, where it had normal, cold foil, and then the extended art versions, and eventually it just got axed, so we had rainbow foil, and then the cold foil variant was the highest variant, right? So for instance, with the High Seas, right? The cold foil variant, aside from the gold beta hook, was the highest version. So, for instance, Poly only came as a Marvel or Rainbow foil, right? So, yeah, curious to see how many different versions of these cards come. Ley Line itself being also a legendary keyword legendary is also kind of a curiosity, right? It sort of falls in line with equipment anyway, so it doesn't need, extra versions or lesser versions, right? In terms of the actual card count, but very curious to see if it comes in normal, Rainbow foil, Marvel, normal, Rainbow foil, cold foil, Marvel, right? Normal, Rainbow foil, promo, Marvel. Yeah, there's lots of different ways that they can do it. Misveil, none of the Chi cards came in Rainbow foil, I believe, right? They were all just normal or Marvel. But then again, they weren't legendaries. They were common cards, so that we'd have them in limited, right? But that aside, so let's get into the card. 0 cost instant aura, right? And again, creates a seismic surge when it enters. So enters being the prime word there, right? Not when you play it, when it enters. So any means of entry to the arena. And whenever you deal damage, you get to create a seismic surge token. So that is open-ended. It's whenever, right? So multiple instances of damage in a turn, and you get yourself multiple seismic surge tokens. And then for its upkeep cost or destruction trigger, beginning of your end phase, it gets destroyed if you control no seismic surge tokens. So generally speaking, right, you play it, it's going to stick around for that turn at the very least, and then every turn after that you have to find a way to get at least one seismic surge, either through another means or obviously dealing damage with ley line to maintain it on board. So it being a 0 cost instant aura means it is fetchable. So Imposing Visage will be able to find ley line. And I love this card because obviously when it first came out, it wasn't great, right? Paying 3 times to fetch an aura was awful, but now we're getting a good plethora of 0 cost auras to make Imposing Visage just worthwhile across decks, right? It was primarily a Yarn thing, but we've got the other aura as well coming out in Mastery Pack Guardian, Promising Terrain, so that's fetchable by Imposing itself, and then ley line, right, is fetchable. So the fact that it has a legendary keyword, you can sort of get around that with Visage, right? You basically have, in that sense, its normal version, and then extra chances to hit Visage before ley line and then find ley line through that. So yeah, it's not going to be too awful to get on board, but it's that question of making sure it sticks around and getting maximum value out of it, because it is definitely a very, very valuable card, right? And with a card like Promising Terrain, its Seismic Surge generation doubles, right? So yeah, pretty nuts. So in terms of, again, that damage trigger, it's any damage to any target, and it is repeatable, right? So for instance, a card like Pay Up. Pay Up hits, you get 1 off of that. Then pay-up's effect triggers and you deal that 1 damage, you get another Seismic Surge. And it doesn't just end there. Obviously, it's to any target. It's not specified that you have to hit a hero or that you have to hit with a Guardian attack, for instance, right? So you could take just a nice weapon, maintain board control, and be generating those Seismic Surge tokens, or we can try and loop in some valuable go-agains with Guardian like Zealous Beating, right? An easy enough card to trigger since we have nice big Guardian attacks, then try and pressure again that extra damage to get multiple Seismic Surge to then continue to sort of snowball and have an easier time throwing out big cards, not to mention Botha, right? So yeah, there are a lot of stuff coming that I think just makes him seem so fun to me for UPF. So if you don't know, he's going to be a Smash Palace hero. His ability is the next attack action card with Crush that you play may attack an additional hero. Attacking additional hero means additional damage possibility, right? So yeah, he can definitely have a nice fun time creating Seismic Surge and sort of getting around how costly his own action is to activate. Couple that with the other cards that we're sort of getting, right? We've got like Headbutt that can't be defended by equipment. We have the Leave a Dent and the good buffs. And even Palm, right, for reference, for Pleiades, is just Guardian. So they all have access to that. So yeah, Guardian is definitely eating good. But in terms of maintaining Leyline, right? So its destruction trigger can be prevented nice and easily with Tectonic Plating. So Tectonic Plating, pay 1 to create a Seismic Surge token. Now, the only awkwardness of this is it's sort of a failsafe, right? So you have to pitch into Tectonic first, since this has a go again, and the majority of attacks that you're going to swing with generally don't have go again as Guardian, right? So think of it sort of like a gold-baited hook failsafe, right? To compare it to High Seas or something more recent. So you can activate Tectonic Plating, get the Seismic Surge off of that, and then Leyline is safe for that turn. Otherwise, you can just bank on trying to dominate and do enough damage in order to, again, get that 1 trigger, at the very least, to create a Seismic Surge off of Leyline itself to then maintain it. But, of course, there are a few other ways to create Seismic Surge. For instance, we have the nice, beautiful Guardian Fable, which is definitely, again, going to be on the rise, since altogether, through Super Slam and Mastery Pack Guardian, Guardian is, yeah, looking a lot more viable, because Leyline itself is just such a super impactful card, right? Because it's this big looming threat on board that your opponent has to deal with or struggle with, right? Depending on what they themselves have access to. Now, for reference for Velda, her trigger is whenever an opponent draws 1 or more cards during an action phase. So Leyline doesn't check, right? Its upkeep costs, well, it's not really a cost, it's upkeep requirements, right? On your opponent's turn, it's just at the end of your turn. So the only way to make it more useful with Velda is through cards like Put Him in Their Place that force your opponent to discard and draw. There's the other one as well, Heroic Enforcement. That is, I think, way off, right? But that as well causes your opponent to draw and then discard if it hits. So those types of cards will trigger Velda, which then will maintain that upkeep for Leyline itself. For reference, Earthlore Bounty is also an interesting pick, right? So that's every time you draw, you get to create a Seismic Surge. So there are definitely ways to maintain it easily, and even in that sense, not go into sort of a negative value where you have to pitch a resource into Tectonic and lose out of sort of that 1 resource that Leyline's going to be generating, hopefully for free in most cases, right? So yeah, altogether, it can smooth out 2/3 card hands as Guardian, right? So a nice 4 cost with Leyline becomes a 3 cost, or a nice 7 cost becomes a 6 cost, making it a bit easier to, again, block out and then go blue into something big like Thump. And then in combination with Tectonic, although you are essentially front-loading a resource on the previous turn by paying for Tectonic, you can then smooth out your 5 costs and 8 costs as well to, again, be a little bit easier, require 1 less card to actually utilize, right? So altogether, it's a big threatening card on board that sort of demands your opponent to block, right, a bit more heftily. So generally with Crush, it's about getting under that 4 damage range. But now with Leyline, it's about fully blocking out and trying to curb that Seismic Surge, as well as trying to get Leyline itself destroyed. But there are other ways, of course, to destroy Leyline. So currently, the main cards that come to mind, for generic, we have Cut Through the Facade and Hacked Reality. Hacked Reality, not really great. It should probably be a +3, considering it is a 1-cost card, right? But both of them are 2-block, but right, they do have ways if you hit to destroy auras. So Cut Through the Facade, nice and easy. If it hits a hero, you get to destroy an aura they control. Hacked Reality, next time you hit a hero, you get to destroy a non-token aura that costs less or equal to the damage dealt. So Leyline itself being a 0 cost makes that as well an easy enough feat to trigger. But other than generic, not every class really has access to Aura Disruption. So Runeblade and Wizard are the big ones, and Guardian themselves will be getting a decent chunk of cards through Mastery Pack Guardian itself. But for Runeblade, we have Runic Reclamation. When this hits hero, destroy a target aura they control. And then as Wizard, pop the Bubble, Scour, Vaporize, right? So all these will allow you to destroy the aura on board. Scour, probably the easiest to trigger, since it's just a 0 cost to play, and Leyline itself is a 0 cost to destroy. Whereas Pop, you need to do the surge damage, and for Vaporize, you would have had to have at least dealt 1 arcane damage. Right, so on the Guardian side of things, we're getting Clash of Bravado. When it's defense clash with the attacking hero, if you win, you get to destroy an aura they control. Rolling Fisher from the Hunted will allow you to destroy auras as well, though it itself will be a 2-cost card to destroy an aura. And then we do have Disenchantment of the old one, so when it deals 4 or more damage to a Guardian hero, destroy all auras they control. Again, if all the old one cards were just Crush in general, rather than specifically to a Guardian hero, they'd be so good. Obviously, they can be rares at that point, but missed opportunity in my mind, right? Aside from that, as Wizard, we also have Negate, since Leyline is an instant, so negate target instant card with cost 1 or less, so Aetherize, and then we do have Null for Cilio, right, which definitely works in the same sense that Aetherize does. So yeah, overall, Leyline is just such an impactful card, right? It's definitely going to be, I would assume, auto-included into every Guardian deck, because again, the board presence is there, the value is there, right? It definitely just puts them up a peg, which, Guardian kind of needs. Then they've sort of been middle board, right, for class constructed. They have their places fatigue, but now they are definitely a bit more threatening. In terms of a little bit of fun, right? So as Pleiades, we have Thespian Charm, right? So destroy Might or Vigor, the crowd cheers you, and return an aura permanent you control to its owner's hand. So you can bounce Leyline back with Thespian Charm and get around a destruction effect, then replay it, right? Get that Seismic Surge as well going into your turn. Or just in general, what is probably going to be my favorite card from Superstone itself, Overcrowded, right? So Ambush, meaning it is an action card you can defend with from your arsenal, and when this attacks or defends, it gets +1, right, for each different name among aura tokens in the arena. So tokens are the keyword there. Doesn't count Leyline itself, but through, for instance, Thespian Charm, you'd get a Confidence as Pleiades, and you would get a Seismic Surge token through Leyline, right? Making Overcrowded a nice blue 4 blocking action card that you can play from Arsenal. And I think she might just be able to push it to probably consistently a 4, but every now and then a 5 block card as well, which is just really, really nuts, right? I think Overcrowd definitely fits into Guardian super well, and obviously it has its codex playability, right? And then the fact that, it's a whole bunch of animals stuck behind the gate is definitely up my alley. So yeah, there we go. Leyline of the old ones. I think for a lot of people, maybe single-handedly turning around their opinion on Mastery Pack Guardian, but yeah, let me know what you think. Hope you enjoyed. Yeah.